Hello, what's up, guys? Hey, what's up, guys? How are you? We are doing a little bit of cooking real quick, but I'm in the chat. You guys talk to me. That's gonna be good, good, good. Yum, yum, yum. Monarch, what's with the star? What you're making with those hamburgers? I'm cooking a couple little strips and Angus patties. I'm just gonna eat the meat by itself. I might use some rice and some beans, but I just finished my workout like 45 minutes ago. And typically, after I eat, I usually after I train, I put a large protein meal. I'm trying to stay lean, so it's not that I'm against carbs, but I only eat carbs if I feel like I'm getting flat. So just a couple Angus beef patties and some ribeye, just right through here with some seasoning. So for me, I'm working on staying really lean in addition, So mostly higher protein and fat for this meal. And later on, I'll have like some fruits and veggies with another meal. Does that make sense? Say hi. The star? That is a Portside Nautilus star. Portside Nautilus star when I was in the Navy. Say hi to me. Oh, hey Bruno. I bet you like protein. Well, I do like to eat meat, man. Well, look, no matter which way you slice it, I've lost about 100 pounds. So losing weight involved me eating more proteins and fats. And I still eat fruits and veggies and stuff like that. But more protein and fat, and also the style, how I lift weights and train, is part of how I got results too. Yep. Owen Rice. Yep. So, yeah. I train a particular way. I eat a particular way. I'm also just for what you guys care, I am a professional trainer. I train people. And I have an injury right now with my hamstring. So I'm limited to what I can do, but I'm still trying to stay in shape. So 6'4", 220 pounds. And yeah, I also help people get their NASM and ACE certificates, as well as some insurance and sales and stuff I do. But for you guys who are curious, this is basically, I take time as I'm cooking. As a certified trainer and nutritionist and someone who works at a university to get people to get certified, I take some time to answer your questions on health, wellness, whether it's powerlifting, bodybuilding, longevity, any of those questions. This is a chance for you to ask me those as I cook. So what questions do you guys have? That's good. Hello. Mike, well, protein's where it's at, man. Now, if you want to know some questions why I like to keep my protein higher, then ask me. And I would be willing to share some of that with you. All I ask is as I give you information for good general information, stuff I studied at university, stuff I've been tested on, stuff I learned in the Navy, just give me a thumbs up. And also, if you've ever thought about becoming a trainer, a nationally accredited trainer, let me know. I'll tell you some advice of what you can do to make that happen. Here for you guys. And man, I tell you, these Angus patties are so good. Oh God. I love to have a big protein meal middle of the day. My biggest protein meal in the middle of the day. That's good. What's the best gluten and dairy-free carb for moderate exercise? I don't really think gluten is the problem, man. If you want to go with low gluten, you can, but that's not really what science says is the problem. So would you like me to give you an alternative viewpoint, Owen Rice? Yeah, I do like playing piano. If you look, I play piano. Are you a recovering addict? I wouldn't say I'm an addict. When I was younger, I did recreational drugs and used to drink a lot, but I wouldn't say I was an addict as much as I just changed my habit type of. I've got EO, the doc put me on an elimination diet. Yeah, so if you're on an elimination diet, what you're gonna have to do is you need to do a food journal. I would say stick mostly to proteins and fats. Remember, carbohydrates are not an essential nutrient for your body. Now, if you're doing high intensity activity, like marathons or a lot of soccer or a lot of basketball, for example, aerobic capacity, then 5 to 15 grams of carbohydrates per hour are good while you're doing that. But you really don't have to have carbohydrates to survive. You do need proteins and fats, though. They are essential. So it kind of depends on what your activity level is. If you're sedentary, I would say more fats, more proteins, and make sure, because fats and proteins are energy, or fats and carbs are energy, so you can kind of play with your energy based on your output, right? As far as carbohydrates, you don't want to necessarily, gluten isn't the problem. What the problem is glyphosates and sodium bicarbonate and all the poisons on carbohydrates in most foods. So instead of thinking gluten is the problem, go to an Oriental store, right? And get some good, clean white rice or potato that hasn't been sprayed with all this bullshit in the store, all the glyphosate, all the chemicals, all the toxins, all the bleached, enriched. Remove that and eat clean carbohydrates when you do eat it, or fruit, either one, and see how you feel. When I train someone who hires me and I give them clean carbohydrates and remove the chemicals, I find that it's the chemicals, not the actual gluten, that's causing issues in most people. Hope that makes sense. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I can't seem to hold my goal. I can't seem to hold my weight. My goal is 90, and when I get there, I usually drop it. What do you mean, 90 pounds? Or 90 pounds for an exercise? And, if you want to look better, it's not about how much weight you lift. It's about understanding time under tension. Time under tension is way superior than just how much weight you lift. Unless you're training to be a power lifter or strength athlete, but 99% of people just want to train to look good naked and look better. And to achieve that, it's more about manipulating tension and understanding a little bit of kinesiology and leverage, essentially. Thank you. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. I will give that a go. My doc is rubbish in his kidding. Well, look, jammy, jam. Here's the thing. Think about it. In the United States where I live, I don't eat bread from the United States. I go to a baker who makes their own bread. Find a baker and go for sourdough bread. And I guarantee you, you will feel better. Because if you look at a baker who does their own, their starter, they put it in a jar, they get the discharge, and they make homemade sourdough bread, that won't stick to you. Look at people in Italy that eat pizza and all these carbohydrates. Their pasta is just not poisoned with sodium benzoate, glyphosates, and bleached. See, when we bleach all that and we put it in the food, that's what causes endocrine disruption, and that's what causes the body to not feel good. It's not the gluten. Gluten's not bad for most people, only less than a 0.05%. So I find when you eliminate the chemical-bounded processed food and substitute it with fruit, a good white rice, you'll feel better. What's up, brother? Yep. Yeah, we're getting back into some real good training now that my injury is getting a little bit better. Do I like fishing? I like fishing because it's peaceful, but typically I'm not just gonna go fish. I would rather spend time outside or work on music, but I do like the fish. It's just not something I go out of my way to do. Yeah, I love eating mulberries and fruit straight off the tree. Oh, 90 kilograms. Okay, let's get this then. Let me get this. If you're enjoying the content, also keep in mind, if you want to become someone who wants to get the best education and become a NASM or ACE certified trainer, I'm a trainer and I've been training people for 15 years. I went from 170 pounds, bulked up to 300, went down to 200, played sports. I've been training. I did marathons. I did strongman competition, got injured, and now I just try to stay lean and healthy because I'm almost 40 years old, guys. I'm not in my 20s. I'm almost 40 years old. So I'm playing the long game for longevity at my age. I ain't trying to hurt myself. I can't afford another injury, dude. If I get one more injury, I'm going to go crazy, dude, because I love to train. So I train more for longevity and health and wellness. So I'm 6'4" and about 80. Okay, so what's your goal, BDA? What is your actual goal? And how old are you? Because I'll tell you the dirty way to do it. If you want to put on weight, I'll tell you the way I recommend it. Because I did a dirty bulk, man. I put on 150 pounds in like 8 years one time. Over an 8-year period, I put on 150 pounds. And then I had surgery. Really? What is this? Really? The F you say? What you mean, Troy? About what part? Same here, mate. I'm 39. My kids, he said, my kids cripple me daily. Yeah, I feel that. Okay, so Jammy Jam. First thing is this. Get you something at the house where you have a mat, like get a mat or a horse stable mat, just something that you can sit on and start working on mobility. Instead of walking all the time, like a lot of people do, going out for walks and being outside is great, but instead of doing a lot of extra cardio, start doing 20 to 30 minute mobility sessions where you sit on your butt and you rotate your hips 90-90 and start doing more gymnastics type stretching or Pilates. That should be your new norm when it comes to activity. You still should do some resistance training or some calisthenics, but for mobility and longevity, you really need to get a yoga ball to do back bends. Like put a big yoga ball on the ground and do back bends and start rotating your hips and start twisting your body. That's going to be the best thing for longevity. In addition to that, try to go walk outside at least once a day for 15 to 20 minutes a couple times a day. And when it comes to your strength, your training, your resistance training, for longevity, don't focus on how much weight you lift. Focus on your time under tension. You want somewhere between 40 to 90 seconds, 40 to 70 seconds of tension on a muscle, and don't train to failure. Train more sets with tension versus ripping your body down because it's too much stress as you get older. Train smarter, not harder. Stimulate, don't annihilate. And then it comes down to your nutrition, which is eliminating processed carbs, eliminating processed sugar, and focusing on protein and fats mostly. And then when you want something sweet, every now and then, every maybe 10 to 20% of the time, just go eat whatever you want. But 80 to 90% of the time, stay on good whole foods. And then when you go see family or you go see friends or you're out celebrating, then that's when you indulge. Just eat whatever you want. Have a drink, have a smoke, smoke something, have a drink. But you only do it like 10 to 20% of the time. You get what I'm saying? What's up? I was waiting for a red light yesterday and all of a suddenly came a car behind me through the grass and hit the pole with the stoplights on. Oh shit. Sorry for that, Shy. That's not really good. 90 grams I put on, but then I lost the fat and it was hard to gain. Yeah, so here's the thing, man. What's your ultimate goal, BDA? BDA, what's your ultimate goal? Are you trying to be lean? Legend. That makes perfect sense. Good to hear it laid out simply. Yeah, man, I've been training people for 15 years, so I hope it makes sense. I mean, this is what I love. You gotta remember, I enroll people at a university in Atlanta. I help people become professional trainers. So I study this all day. So I work with a team that's got PhDs and exercise scientists. I work with people who are literally dedicating their life to training. So this is just my passion. I love it. Because at the end of the day, man, you got to do something you love, and health is wealth. And I'm glad that you're concerned with your mobility. Oh, one other thing too. I just feel like it would be healthier at my height. Well, here's the thing. It doesn't matter how much you weigh. It matters your body mass index. You know, Greg Plitt was one of the most famous, look up Greg Plitt, BDA. Greg Plitt was a world famous fitness model who was an Army Ranger. He was only 6'2", 190 pounds. But he was under 9% body fat year round. So because he was lean and he was athletic. So don't worry about your weight. If you feel thin, it's okay. Just remember, most people are kind of overweight and fat. And don't worry about comparing yourself to other people. Now, if you look at the mirror, because I understand body dysmorphia and all that stuff, if you think you look thin, then yeah, you can eat food and you can get larger, but focus on quality, not quantity. If you take the next year and you put on 6 pounds of quality muscle and you don't gain body fat with it, you're gonna look better year round. Now, if you wanna bulk and cut and do all that, you're just gonna build unnecessary fat that you have to take off later. So to me, if you're playing the long term and you're trying to look good year round, where you can, take your shirt off, be somewhat cut, and look good year round, play the long game. Don't worry about your weight. Worry about progressive overload or time under tension, and concern yourself more with good nutrition. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what's going to be the game changer. The game changer is going to be nutrition. And as someone who is certified in nutrition, and I work with a PhD who has a PhD in sports nutrition, I can tell you carbs are a good tool, but they're not necessary. And how you use your carbs to eat and how you time your carbs is very important. You can kind of think of it in very simple terms like this. Your body needs a stimulus, and then it needs a reason to adapt, and then you need to feed it what it needs within a calorie content. But how you train as well, I tell this to people all the time. If you're someone who's going into gym and you're resting 5, 6, 7 minutes between sets, and you notice that you're not lean, I don't think that's an effective way to achieve an aesthetic physique. Now, I used to strength train and power lift, and back in the day, I was pretty strong with my deadlift. I can tell you firsthand that you will feel better, okay? And you will look better if you shorten your rest times and focus on tension. Instead of training to failure, focus on doing more quality sets, a few reps shy of failure, and doing more volume and building up your ability to handle more volume. And instead of doing unnecessary cardio all the time, that's when you do mobility. And then you focus on your nutrition, because your nutrition is going to dictate how you look, right? Calories determine your weight, macros determine your body composition, and micros determine your performance. Hope that makes sense. Next question. Next question. Also, don't underestimate an old school routine that was used before a lot of steroids came into the fitness industry. A full body routine every other day does really well to gain mass. But I don't think it does as well for the aesthetics, to look lean. It all depends on what you want. You can get big and strong, but have some body fat, or you can get lean and have that lean aesthetic physique. So having both is very tough unless you're using like exogenous hormones or SARMs or peptides like people are doing. If you're using assistance like that, your body's going to respond differently. So what you're trying to do when you're a natural athlete is create an environment. You're trying to create an environment where you do a stimulus, and that stimulus creates the hormonal balance for you not to train too hard, but not to train not hard enough. It's really getting your tension, your nutrition, your rest, and then having a lifestyle where it becomes a priority. Not an obsession, but a priority, right? And, next question. Ooh, I'm very excited to eat. I am excited. Can't wait to eat, then I gotta study. Eat and study. Next question. Thanks, very good, BDA. Yeah, man. And like I said, if you're 30 years old, figure out what you want. Like, look, if you want to be a big, strong athlete, then eat as much as you want and just lift weights. Go do your thing. I was in the gym today with a power lifter who every time that I train, and this guy makes me laugh, I'm always laughing, and he's bench pressing 4 plates, which is like 405, and he always gets a spotter. He asks me to spot him, but I say no. Because I don't rest that long between sets. So I'm like, nah, find someone else to spot you, brother, because I don't want to ruin my workout. And he always looks at me funny, but he always gets beside me, and he's always throwing up this weight, but he's got this huge ass gut, and he's always being explosive, and he's always walking around, and then I'll take my shirt off in the locker room and be looking at myself, and he never takes his shirt off. So cool, it's cool to be big and strong if that's your goal, but if your goal is to change how you look and have wide shoulders, like I have a 32-inch waist and 51-inch shoulders. There's a 20-inch gap between my waist and shoulders, right? I'm training to look a certain way and to be able to train for the rest of my life. So it's more of a lifestyle. Now, that doesn't mean my way's better or his way's better. It's just you need to know what you're training for, because the weights are a tool and the tools are used to achieve a result, right? So you really need to understand what your goals are. And because I used to be 300 pounds and I was a big, strong power lifter, was it government manipulation, but it feels bad, but it feels good. Okay. Fix government here, body cams on politicians. All right. We're going to thanks for the spam. You're going to be off my channel. I don't really dig that. Yeah, just hide user. Yeah, guys, I don't really like the spam and stuff. Look, why are you going to come into my channel with 10 people when I'm talking about health and witness and start doing that? It's just weird. Yeah, WSP. Dylan. What's up, player? What's up, Dylan? How are you? Well, I just got done cooking 2 beef Angus patties and 2 ribeyes, and I'm going to indulge. Oh, so good. Diplomatic throwback. What's up, man? Well, I've decided to pursue my passion for health and wellness. Because you guys know my Mind, Music, and Muscle channel, I've been training people for about 15 years. And so I got involved with the university where I'm going to be helping people become certified NASM and ACE trainers, which is really cool because I get to work in my office, keep doing sales like I love to do. I love working in sales and getting people to believe. Oh, thanks, Alex. So I'm back on health and wellness, and I'm going to have more time now to dedicate to my own training. So yeah, just trying to stay in shape, almost 40 years old, trying to look my best, stay lean. I'm not someone who wants to be a big fluffy power lifter. Not to say, look, I get it. I power lifted in strongman for almost 8 years of my life. I was 300 pounds with a big ass belly. I lost all that weight and I've never felt better. So again, train for your goals. Cool tattoos, man. Thank you. What you been up to, Diplomatic Throwback? What you up to? So we have this. I wonder what'll go good with this steak now. What type of sauces we got? Oil and vinegar, dressing. You know, people think it's silly, but I really like to use more Dale's. I really like the Dale's seasoning. And this meal is basically meat and fat and salt. And then I'll probably have a carby meal later. But I don't really feel like I need carbs right now. I feel pretty decent. What you guys got? This is, if you look at the chat, this is health and wellness chat. Like, you know, I can't explain almost 2 decades of experience in a short chat, but I will tell you my opinion if you want an unbiased view about health and wellness. Some credentials that I have in case you guys don't know. I played about 9 different sports. I was in the Navy. I was an ACFL in the Navy. I volunteered at the University of Pittsburgh. I'm ISSA certified, and I work with NASM and ACE and Body Design University to get people to become certified trainers, help them with business, help them with all that good stuff. So my knowledge basis for health and wellness is something I've built my entire life. So I'd like to share some of that with you if you have any questions. Law of Nigeria. What's the law of Nigeria? Don't know what that is. Working like a dog, ATM, looking to get in shape for the summer, been dieting, need to get to the gym. Yeah, so make sure you understand what your goals are. And remember, it's not just dieting. Dieting can mean a lot of different things, right? What do you mean by dieting? You know, what do you mean by dieting? Because dieting is a term people use, but I'm not a big fan of the term dieting. So I prefer eating habits, lifestyle change, play the long run, you know what I mean? But if you're working like a dog and you're always moving and you're always working, the way you should train is a lot different than the way you probably think. I train people not to go to failure, personally. Look, there's no need to train to failure. If you're an average guy looking to stay in shape, have a family, have responsibilities, why are you going to go to the gym and kill yourself? Train to stimulate your body and make good nutrition decisions, and train to feel better and not destroy yourself. Because so many people go to the gym and every time they train, they're digging so much of a hole, they're frying their nervous system, and they're always tired. Then they have to go work a 60-hour work week. That is the dumbest thing you can do to make your body change, because you have to regulate how you train. Basically carnivore, as it's easy to figure out. Well, you say it's easy to figure out, but I've trained about 700 people in my life over the last 15 years or so. And people that think they're on carnivore, a lot of times they're actually not following carnivore, but that's cool. In my world, nothing is that simple. Like, what one person thinks is carnivore is sometimes keto. People don't understand the difference between keto and carnivore. They don't understand carbs. They don't understand glyphosates, processed carbs. They blame gluten for chemicals. But hey, whatever you're doing, if it's working, keep at it. You know what I mean? The main thing is, if what you do is working, then keep at it. But understanding some tricks of the trade. When I say tricks of the trade, understanding ways to be more efficient. Most people aren't being very efficient the way they're eating and training. I say that as a professional trainer and someone who helps people become professional trainers for a living. Yeah, well, I would say if you look better, you feel better. I know people who train and they get stronger, but they don't look better. And if you don't like the way you look, like if you're not lean and you don't have a good physique, then if you start looking better, you typically start feeling better. Look better, feel better, and yes, train for function. Do mobility, do some form of cardio, all of that. Working like a dog, It's definitely helping weight-wise, but I'm not getting the energy juice. Yeah, depends on what you're eating, Diplominute Throwback. Here, run me through what you're eating. Because also, if you want a good source, look at Dr. Anthony Chafee, a PhD in carnivore. He's got some good stuff. Carnivore is good, but I alter the carnivore diet slightly. I found the way that works better for most people. But carnivore is good for an elimination diet and to get rid of processed food. But carbs are not the enemy. If you get non-processed, and what I mean by processed is rice, for example, and potatoes and fruit. Most rice in the United States has glyphosate. It also has sodium benzoate, and it has a lot of things in it that are carcinogens. And it's those things that are causing problems to people, not the carbohydrate itself. So if you get a clean sourdough bread from an actual baker, not Walmart or Publix or stuff like that, but an actual baker who makes everything from scratch, and they don't use enriched flour, right? They don't use bleached flour where they strip out the nutrients and then add color. If you get rid of that and you replace it with good, clean carbohydrates, good, clean fruits, good, clean potatoes, good, clean rice, and you use that to keep your glycogen somewhat full, but not too full, then you can have a better looking physique, I feel, and have more energy and still be able to balance. But carbohydrates are not an essential nutrient. So the energy boost, yeah. When I go strict carnivore, and I went strict carnivore for like 45 days where all I ate was steak and eggs and salt, I was getting ripped to pieces, but I never had good energy. So I figured out a way to use principles of the carnivore, but also use strategic carbohydrate timing based on how I'm training. So I eat proteins, fats, and carbs based on how I'm training. So it's not like I eat and I train based on how I'm eating. And if I'm gonna train more, I eat more. And if I need more energy or I do more running or aerobics, then I'm going to eat more carbohydrates. But if I'm not doing aerobics, I'm doing more hypertrophy work with time under tension, then I don't need as many carbohydrates. So it's kind of a balancing act, but you got to understand the basic principles to apply it. Oh my goodness me, who is this handsome crick? You look really fly without a beard, but you also look very wise with the beard. Hope that you're doing well. Robert, thanks man, appreciate that. Yeah, well, I had to get a little bit more clean cut. I'm getting ready to do a headshot for the company I'm working with. So because I'm gonna have a headshot and wear some gear, and I'm gonna be working with people who have a passion to become personal trainers through NASM and ACE, I wanna make sure I have a good headshot. So I'm working on staying good and lean and looking my best for that position. But thank you. Mexi Honey, okay, there's a good name. All right. Well, let's talk about that. I'm 6'4", 220 pounds. 6'4", 220. So I'm not exactly super lean, but I'm trying to get a little bit leaner. But we got a little bit of that going in. So again, I'm not a super large guy. I'm 220 pounds at 6'4", and I got some cuts and lines, but I'm just now starting to try to like actually get back in shape. So hopefully you guys will kind of see my transformation. I'm not gonna go crazy. My goal is never to get super big and large. I like having a lean aesthetic physique. Mexi Honey, do me a favor. Will you do me a favor, Mexi Honey? Make sure you give me a thumbs up right there. And I want to tell you, I'm a professional trainer, and I help other people build training businesses and get them to help their community through NASM and ACE. I help people do that through a university in Atlanta. So I'll tell you exactly what I think about intermediate fasting. Okay? Soup is good. So what's my... Okay, cool. That's what's up. So you fast for 36 hours during the week. Okay. Now, my question to you is your body composition. Do you have... Women should have a little bit more body fat than men because women need to make sure their hormones are in check, right? When women get too lean, it can disrupt their menstrual cycle and it can cause some havoc because women naturally need more energy because they're producing eggs and it's just the way chemistry is. So women should typically stay at the lowest between 12 to 18%. Okay, so my question to you, so here's the thing. How do you feel when you're doing that? And are you doing resistance training? Because if you're doing 36-hour fast and you're doing resistance training and you're ended it with bone broth, that can work for some people, but I don't think that's the most efficient way to have an aesthetic physique. Although I am a fan of intermediate fasting, but I like to fast between meals to give my stomach a break because my waist right here is about 32 to 31 inches. So I like having a small waist and wide shoulders. So I do implement some fasting for that. Okay, cycling and cardio. Okay. So are you trying to become a professional cyclist? Why so much cycling? Because, but it all depends on your goal, but if you're 5'1" and you're doing cycling, I would say, I would still do some type of hypertrophy work. Hi man, good morning, have a wonderful day today. Oh, Shawnee, hello. Huh? Oh. Well, me personally, if I'm doing training, I wouldn't be able to go you're doing so much cardio, you're probably lean, depending on how you're doing your cardio, because just because you're riding a bike doesn't really tell me anything about whether it's zone 2, zone 3, or zone 4, because the bike can be aerobic capacity or it can be anaerobic depending on how you use it. But do you have access to weights at a gym? Because if you do, if you have access to weights at a gym, I would definitely start understanding hypertrophy training, specifically time under tension. Time under tension is what's going to grow the most amount of microfilaments in the actual muscle versus strength training, which can be a different... Strength training is more the nervous system, which is good. But as far as aesthetics goes, hypertrophy training is what's going to make the body look better. Or if you don't have access to weights, just start doing your body weight. Just start learning time under tension and actually controlling how you contract muscles. Okay. So, I've been training people for 15 years and I've never had a client understand how to lift a dumbbell. So
I'm not saying that's you, but I've trained close to 700 people in my life, personally. Most people don't understand time under tension. It's not about going fast. It's not about going slow. It's about understanding biomechanics. Yeah, doing squats with dumbbells is good, but just because you're doing squats, it doesn't really, like, you gotta remember, I'm a professional trainer. Like, I have pretty much dedicated my life to physical culture. Just because you're using dumbbells to squat, because I can't see you squatting, I don't really know how you're doing it. But here's the main thing. When you're doing squats, do you feel it in your quads? Do you feel it in your hamstrings? Do you feel it in your glutes? And if you feel those muscles working, then you're doing it right. But I can't tell you how many people I see in the gym doing squats with a belt, and they don't have big legs, but they can move a lot of weight because they're using their whole body. So it really depends on if you're trying to use your whole body to get stronger, which is more neuroadaptation, it's your nervous system firing, or if you're trying to build muscle in a particular area of the body. Right? Not eating past 6 p.m. I know why people say that. Here's the thing. I don't agree with that. I think you should eat when you're hungry. And if you're not hungry, you don't eat. And you eat based upon when you train. So if you're training at 7 o'clock at night, then I would eat after you train. So now if you train early in the day, cool. But when you eat before bed and stuff, there's a little bit of science that shows in order to get REM sleep, you need to be at a cooler body temperature. So yeah, if you eat a huge meal and your body's having to break that down, it's gonna raise your temperature. But at the end of the day, it depends on when you're training and what you eat around your training and what you eat or not eat when you're not training. It's about controlling your insulin and understanding how your body's adapting to the stress you're putting it on. So that's why these people that write programs where it says, do this, eat this way, those programs typically never work. Every client I've ever trained, I do a customized meal plan and a customized program based upon how their day is set, what time they wake up, do they have any food allergies and stuff like that? Yeah, so here's the thing. If you're doing a 6-hour window and you're eating during that window, you probably got most of it down, right? And now it's just determining this, Mexi Honey. Okay, let's see. I don't get bad if I eat because I get hungry around midnight. I mean, it's kind of like this, Mexi Honey. Are you overweight? Like, you say you're like 5'1" or 5'2", right? Do you know what your body mass index is or your body fat percentage? And don't say, I think I'm this. No, actually, have you ever measured it? If not, go to a gym and get it measured. If you're lean, so you're 5'1", 173 pounds, I'm pretty sure that's overweight. If you're 5'1", 173 pounds, that's like morbidly obese. Nah, 5'1", you should probably be more like 110 to 120 with a good BMI at around 14% would be optimal. But, you know, everybody's different. But what I'm saying is, if you're fasting for 36 hours, breaking it with bone broth, not eating when you're hungry, and you're not lifting weights and you're doing cardio, it sounds to me like you're destroying your muscle, which is lowering your basal metabolic rate, and I would not use that program. That's just my own personal opinion, right? Now, I'm not trying to, and again, that's just my own opinion. I mean, if you've done this and you've lost weight, my goal isn't to get people to lose weight. My goal is to get people to maintain muscle and look better. I've had some people I've trained over a 3-month period, 4-month period, and they gain 2 pounds. But when you look at before and after pictures, they look like two totally different people. It's more about your basal metabolic rate, your activity, understanding time under tension, applying these principles with diet. Yeah, if you want to be toned, you're going to have to, you can't be 5'1" and 175 pounds and look good. And don't think I'm making fun, do not think that, but I'm a professional. I've been training people for almost 2 decades. That's not exactly a good height and weight ratio. And it's not because somebody's big bone, you know what I'm saying? I would probably have you eat more, I would change what you eat, and I would have you start doing less cardio and more resistance training, right? So, no, big bone is an excuse. That shit ain't real. No. Mexi, don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Lying to yourself is not going to get you to your goal. Don't lie to yourself. You're not big bone. That's not true. That's not how the body works. When people say they're big bone, what they're doing is they're making an excuse. Now, I'm not some guy who just woke up one day and started to talk about this. Again, been training people for almost 2 decades. I literally have different businesses, but I'm someone who, when people want to become a nationally accredited trainer through ACE or NASM, I get them enrolled and get them to become professional trainers with 2 of our coaches who are PhDs in sports nutrition and human performance. So I've been studying this stuff for a long time, and I know the basic population doesn't understand these principles because what they see on Google and what they see on social media typically is very far from what actually works. Hence why people put it out, because they're not really giving you the actual details, because if they did, they wouldn't be able to sell programs. But you're not big bone. That's just an excuse. Not eating for 3 days, riding a bike everywhere, and then fasting with bone broth after 3 days? No. Find a trainer. Hire a trainer. Yeah, Mexi, honey. There's so many things that you're doing wrong, I don't feel like elaborating on an entire video. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying that because a lot of people think they know what they're doing. What do you do for a living? What you do for a living, friend? Right, but you start, okay, swimming's good. Well, that's fine. You can have all the energy. Jail? Corrections jail? Okay. So you have all this energy, but you're still morbidly obese, right? So what I would say is if you want to look better, you need to change your entire program. I see about 9 mistakes in your program. Now, keep in mind, I don't work for free. I'll give you bits and pieces, but there's so much, and again, I'm not trying to harp on you, but there's so many things that recommend me. I don't know what now you're talking about. Okay, oh, Deli, okay. I've started swimming again and I'm 52. Okay, let me see. Daily Connell, welcome back in. So let's talk. So Mexi, honey, I've answered about like 9 of your questions, and all you keep doing is telling me what you're doing versus taking what a professional trainer, someone who's dedicated 2 decades of their life, studied at university, in the military, I train people. I'm gonna move on to somebody else because I've done given you so much free information, and all you do is either you're a robot or I don't think you're a robot, but do I have a website? I did, but I'm booked with my clients. I'm full. So I don't really have any slots opening up for people I'm training right now because I'm maxed out. So if I get availability open, I'll put that out. But right now I train too many people. I basically, as I'm eating, I try to come and give some free fitness advice up here. What I typically do is if somebody's looking to make a change for the better, I tell them to message me on my Instagram, which is Mind, Music, and Muscle. Message me and say, hey, I want to do this. And what we can do is we can set an appointment. And when my schedule comes open, I'll see and plug someone in. But I have too many clients right now. I'm not really taking in any. I'm only going to take in, if I take anybody, it will be because I'm replacing someone that for whatever reason doesn't want to train anymore, and I'll replace them. But that's what I'm saying. Howdy from Ashland. Yeah, my website was pretty good for a while, but I kept getting so many bookings, and I'm not someone who just does cookie cutter programs. I'm someone who actually sets a consult. If I work out, for sure, Mexi. But here, I want to tell you that at the same time, don't take what I'm saying as a personal attack because I know I'm very blunt, but I understand this. And what I mean by that is I've studied and applied, trained others, and had a lot of success. And I've lost 100 pounds. And I also put on 150 pounds when I was bulking. Pineapples don't grow on trees. But pineapples are a miracle joint support formula. And they have a special enzyme in it called, I think, bromelain, which helps the body and the central nervous system. If I work out other than swimming, where should I start? Thanks. DeLee. McConnell, what I would say is, depends on your goal. You see, that's where I'm different than other people. It depends on your goal. 5'10", Phoenix Lightning, hello. 5'10", 180 pounds. Okay. 5'10", 180 pounds. Still doesn't really tell me anything because I can't see you. Do you know your body mass index or your body fat percentage? Not what you think it is, but actually, has it been measured by a professional, right? Because that's going to dictate that. Don't eat tilapia. Okay, cool. I work out on my days off and from the firehouse, I'm an EMT. Upchurch, cool, yeah, that's good. If you're an EMT, you're moving around a lot. Okay, so being 5'10", 180 pounds, it really depends on, a lot of factors. I mean, people think that weight is going to determine how you look and all, but it's more about the proportion and the ratio of muscle to body fat. And to be fair, most people in the United States are obese, right? So most people don't understand what a lean physique actually looks like. And the people in the gym are typically doing a lot of hormones and steroids and peptides and all this hormone replacement therapy because they don't understand that they're training and destroying their body with so much stress their body can't recover. So as someone who's almost 40 years old and has trained about close to 700 people in my life over 15 to 20 years, I've seen a lot of these mistakes, right? Hannah. Oh, cool, Hannah. So Daleem, it depends on your goal, but if you're swimming and you're doing well with your swimming, I would add two things. I would either do a full body workout every other day or an upper body, lower body split every other day. Or if you started liking weights, I would train every day, 4, 5, 6 days a week for about 30 minutes to an hour and use time under tension for hypertrophy, specifically targeting areas of the body that you want improvement. That mixed in with a proper diet, which balances protein, fats, and carbs, in addition to the timing, putting your carbohydrates around when you train, and understanding time under tension for hypertrophy, because swimming is going to be doing a lot of good and it's going to really do well, but swimming isn't going to make the body build muscle like proper hypertrophy training, which is just two different paths. But swimming is great for the mobility and to keep the connective tissue. So now you want to pair that with a form of resistance training. It can be dumbbells, it can be barbells, it can be machines, or it could be body weight. Start doing some calisthenics. And don't just do movements, but understand how the movement is supposed to be done so you can contract the muscles. Getting your body to change how it looks is more about manipulating your form and putting more time under tension to the muscle without putting as much time on the joint, right? Unless you're a power athlete or a professional athlete that needs to be very large and strong, there's no need to train that way. It's just the risk reward is not worth it. I train with weights that are very light, and typically when I go to the gyms, people usually ask me how I look the way I look. Under the right lighting, right, I look really well. And I really don't even train that hard like I used to, and I have more energy, which means I can train more frequently. And by training more frequently and not killing myself, I'm able to recover, and then I use my nutrition to dictate how I feel, and then I train like more frequently, and I use a lot of volume, and I don't really rest a lot. Like if you're in the gym and you're someone who's like doing a heavy set of bench or a heavy deadlift or a heavy overhead press, and you're resting 5 to 6 to 7 minutes between sets, you know, that's good to get thick and strong, but that's not going to make you look good. You know, I like to train to kind of look good at almost 40 years old. I'm the only person in my family that looks the way I do. It is what it is. You know, it's been a lifetime of studying form, going to colleges, going to talk to professionals and all that. So what kind of protein should you buy? D. Okay, Hannah. So Hannah, yeah, it really depends on what your goals are. You know, I'm not someone who says you should do this when I know nothing about you. So Hannah, let me know kind of what your goals are. Are you happy with your strength? Do you want to get a little bit, like what's more important? Going into the gym and showing off for everybody how much weight you can lift, or going into the gym and making your body look better? You know, for me, I would rather look better. I like to have a small waist, wide shoulders. I don't want to be big and poofy and have all that water retention. So I write programs specific. Now, if you want to be a big power lifter, I can train power lifters. I was a strong man with a 700-pound deadlift at one point before I had, you know, my back injury. I can tell you firsthand, I know how to train that way. And it's harder to train to be lean and athletic. To me, it's harder to stay lean than it is to strength train. Because when you strength train, all you're doing is lifting heavier weight. You go in, you lift heavier weight, and then you eat whatever you want to get big. That's not really how I train people. I mean, I can train people to do that, but it's just so ineffective and it's not good for your health. I want people to live longer, have better mobility, be able to feel better, have more energy. So Dealey, yeah, so when you say what kind of protein should I buy, I recommend a lot of times, depending on your budget, I think whole eggs are very important. We have chickens, so I have chickens outside out there. So for me, give me 1 second. So what I like to do is, you see these? So I have chickens, and I'm a big believer in whole eggs. So if you're somebody who's on a budget and you want a no-nonsense, easy meal, organic free-range eggs, go to a local farmer, you'll make a deal. Whole eggs and clean white rice. Not the white rice that you get at the store at the Great Value from Walmart, because that's got sodium benzoate, it's got preservatives, and it's got a lot of stuff in it that's not gonna do well for your body. So what you want is a clean carbohydrate. Go to a baker and get sourdough bread, or go get some sweet potatoes or potatoes. Hopefully that's not sprayed with glyphosates and all these toxins. Or go get some white rice and make white rice and whole eggs. And then I'm a big fan of ribeyes, steaks, ribeye, sirloin. If you like fish, you can go for fish, but I'd rather eat eggs and meat. And then when it comes to your fruits and veggies, I don't really eat a lot of fruits and veggies. Instead, what I do is I put fruits and veggies in my smoothie, and I make
protein, fruits and veggie protein smoothies. So I drink my fruits and vegetables, right? And I eat mostly proteins and fats, and I don't like to mix those. I don't like to mix fruits and vegetables and rice and protein all in a meal. I just don't feel good when I do that. So smoothies with any types of greens, any types of fruit variety. And then if I want a snack, it might be yogurt with some protein powder, or yogurt with some fruit, like pineapple and Greek yogurt, or nuts and seeds. Simple as that. I eat and then 20% of the time when I go out to eat with friends and family, I eat whatever I want. So 20% of the time I'll eat pizza, burgers, whatever I want. But like 80 to 90% of the time, it's whole eggs, meat, maybe some protein powder, right? Greek yogurt, fruits, nuts and seeds, and I drink a lot of my veggies because I don't really like vegetables too much, unless it's like carrots or spinach maybe. But that's kind of like a basis of my nutrition. Makes sense? Very simple. Yeah, I think people eat a lot of stuff they don't really need a lot of times. You thought I was gonna get yeah, chicken's not bad, but I don't know. I mean, chicken's good, but personally, since like I do portion control, I would rather eat more steak and eggs versus chicken. I don't really like chicken and fish. I like steak and eggs more. That's just me. But I'm not against like chicken. You know, if you want to get like chicken drumsticks and stuff, but a lot of times chicken is so dirty. So I prefer like more grass-fed beef and free-range eggs, and then like a hydro slate. And sometimes I'll start the morning with like 50 to 100 grams of protein, like in a shake. So, you know, you want to start your day off and put some protein in your body and have a big meal. Yeah, health is wealth for sure. Yeah. And then a lot of times it depends on how I'm training, because I still take walks during the day. I work remote out of my office, helping people become certified trainers through ACE and NASM, right? I work as a spot out there. And I do actually sell insurance and stuff too. But the older I get, the more I know that I think health and wellness is really cool. And so I do my best to try to put as much as my time into that. And I'm a trainer as well. I train people, but because of my schedule, I kind of, when I go to the gym, I just want to train myself. Unless I find like a client who's going to pay me a premium and actually, like if somebody's looking for a cheap trainer, I'm not going to waste my time. Like my time is worth a little bit of money. Like I know what my hourly is worth. And if someone's not willing to pay my premium price for premium service, then I'm not going to work with them because I know what I'm worth, right? Like I know some trainers out here, and I won't say names, but they like have big old bellies. And it's like, I don't understand how these fat people can like get people to give them money to train. You know, they'll be like, oh, I used to be a 900-pound bencher. And you look at them, they're red in the face. They move around like this. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, I can see why you only charge like, you know, $20 for a session. And I'm not trying to be mean to people, but it's like, come on now. Like, you know, I'm almost 40 years old and I've been training people. Like my job in the Navy was when people get ready to retire. Fair play, yeah. When people were getting ready to retire as an ACFL, I have to get them in shape, work on their nutrition, and put them through a program so they can lose body fat so they can get their pension, right? I've been doing this a long time and I know what I'm worth, right? So it's easier. Is it easier to or better to have a big breakfast and smaller supper? So daily, it depends. It depends on, everybody's different. So the most important thing is by the end of the day, it's not even the day, it's by the end of the week, under a 7-day period, everything that you put in your body should
be adjusted into a macro scale. I don't really care about calories, right? I care about hitting a certain amount of protein per day. And then based on my output, right? It's like if I'm doing more aerobic training, like doing more cardio or sprints, then I'm probably going to eat a little bit more carbohydrates, right? But if I'm not doing that, I'm lifting more weights where I'm doing an 8 to 10, where I'm still doing time under tension, but I'm resting maybe a little bit more, then I'm not going to eat as many carbs. If I'm doing hypertrophy training, then I'm probably going to have some honey and some carbs before and after I train. So daily, I'm not trying to beat around the bush, but it's like, it's not really a big breakfast or a small supper. It's kind of like, what am I doing and what do I need to fuel based on my activity? So I look at it from that perspective. So, and then it's also how I look in the mirror. Like if I look at, like, look, if I look in the mirror, right, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like, okay, how's my abs looking? Like, are we okay here? I'm like, okay. Are we looking okay? Then maybe based on how I look, and then based on how I'm performing, and then based on the mirror, I'm kind of auto-regulating my nutrition based on my activity. So this is where there's not a one size fits all. Now I could say, wake up, have a big breakfast, and then don't eat past 6 and do this and that. And that's gonna work for some people, but that's not gonna work for everybody, right? And then it depends on how much stress you have. And then it also depends on what your basal metabolic rate is. Because if you eat too much, yeah, you'll get fat. But if you don't eat enough, you won't have an energy to build more muscle tissue. So a lot of these things have to be considered. That's why when I train somebody, I have them message me on my Instagram, which I don't have any openings now. I'm all full, but maybe in the future there'll be some openings. I tell them to message me on Instagram, Mind, Music, and Muscle. Right? Mind Music Muscle on Instagram. It's CJ Whitehead. And I say, message me what your goals are. And then we have a face-to-face conversation through FaceTime or Zoom. I set up a meeting and I kind of break down what their goals are and based on what they want, what their budget is. Because if people can't afford good food, then I'm not going to work with them. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, but if I'm going to work with somebody, not everybody gets to work with me. Like, I'm very selective who I train because I'm not going to train someone who's not serious and waste my time. I'll give them their money back. I train people to get results. I'm a professional trainer, man. So I'm very selective who I work with. But when I do these streams, I try to give some golden knowledge out to you guys. So hopefully that makes sense. For sure. Happy LeBron James Day, bro. LeBron James Day. Is it his birthday or something? So yeah, daily, the biggest thing is this. If you're going to wake up and you're training with hypertrophy, but that's assuming you're actually training properly for hypertrophy, right? What I would say is it's always good to start off with protein. Now, me, I'm not very hungry a lot of times in the morning, so what I'll do is I have some supplements over here. And it also depends, like if I'm training hard, right? And training hard for me Oh, sorry about that. Criddle sound's gone. Oh, for sure. So my bad. I cut that off. But what I was saying is like, and when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to probably do more. Yeah, my fault. I'm getting ready to go do some study and I've got to go work with some clients really quick. So what I would recommend is assuming that you're training properly. But most people that I train or have trained, close to 700 people over the last 20 years, I would rather start with liquid nutrition because it's easily absorbed, right? And I would focus on a higher amount of protein earlier in the day mixed with some fat, like some PB2 powder. People are like, well, why not use peanut butter? Well, I don't want to use peanut butter because there's a lot of calories in it. So, it's very easy to take peanut butters and fruits and honeys and nuts and seeds and get all this calorie, and then that's going to make you fat. So I use PB2, some creatine. I'm a big fan of creatine. And that with some whey isolate, maybe 50 to 100 grams, because I'm 220 pounds, right? And, that'll be like my smoothie. And then I might even have a cup of coffee on my way to the gym. And now by the time I get to the gym, I'm hydrated, I have amino acids in me, and my stomach's empty, but I have some liquid, you know what I'm saying? So it's easy on the system. And then I'll have a big meal like I just did, which was like an 8-ounce ribeye steak and then 2 beef Angus patties, just protein and fat. And I could have some carbs if I want to, but I just decided not to now. And then later on throughout the day, I'll probably do some more liquid nutrition. And what that does is I'm putting a lot of food in my body at once after I train. And then that keeps my waist small. Because if you eat every couple hours, you're going to get a fat waist for most people. Not everybody, but for most people that aren't using peptides, because I'm not a fan of peptides, SARMs, hormone replacement therapy. I'm not a really big fan of that. Unless you've optimized your nutrition and you've optimized your lifestyle, getting put on hormone replacement is just going to make you age fast. Every person I know that gets on TRT or hormone replacement therapy, for the most part, they start aging really fast. And I'm close to 40 years old, and I don't want to age fast. I want to age great. You know what I'm saying? What is that? Oh yeah, race, religion, and politics. I don't conform to any particular religion. So yeah, for me, it's like everybody's different. People have their own opinions on religion. So for me, I'm not convinced that any religion is true. I don't think I know the answer, but nothing that I have read has convinced me that any religion is the truth. But that being said, that's a subject that can kind of like get people a little fired up. And I know in the past I've had some talks on that. At the end of the day, what matters to me is that people respect others. I don't really like tribalism. People coming together just to be together and then say mine is better than yours is better than mine. But, at the end of the day, whatever makes someone become a better person. I do believe that what Jesus taught as far as love, I think Jesus was a real person. And I do believe that Jesus brought down the Roman Empire, and it was a pretty interesting thing. And I've studied it. But, I think too many people pay attention to things that don't matter. And the main thing is like Jesus was trying to teach us to love others and to serve others. Simple as that. Peace comes with it. And you don't need a church to have a relationship with God. And I'll leave it at that. Yeah, he's saying the flying spaghetti muster. He's referring to Richard Dawkins, who is a biologist and a world-renowned atheist. He's referring to Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins in that sense. So I get what he's saying. I got you. But at the same time, I'm not going to go around and make fun of people because the thing is, I don't know the answer. So I'm not someone who knows the answer, but I lean more towards there is a creator, or more towards there's not. I'm not a theist. I'm not a theist. Theism doesn't convince me, but that doesn't mean I'm not open to learn. But this is something I've studied for a lot of my life, and we'll leave it at that. No, he's referring to Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins, and I know what he's referring to. I get the joke. I get what he's saying. So, I'm trying to talk about health and wellness. I'm really not trying to get on a race, religion, or political rant here because, those are things that sometimes people can't talk about without cognitive bias. Not in the right setting for that. Right. So, I didn't know. I thought he was being funny. Well, he's being funny, but if he knows anything, the fact that I know the people that he's talking about, yeah, sleep is key. Oh, yeah, absolutely, Delaney, yeah. Hey, turmeric, yeah, turmeric's good. Turmeric's anti-inflammatory, yeah. Electrolytes, I would say, yeah. Sometimes in the morning, if I don't want to eat, I'll just take electrolytes and sodium and salt, and I'll hydrate before I go to the gym. You want to be hydrated, and you want to be able to contract muscles. So being hydrated, not just with water, but with the right ratio of electrolytes, extremely useful. Most people will have more energy when they wake up instead of just drinking coffee. If they were to take electrolytes and water and salt, well, salt is sodium, potassium, choline, magnesium. If you hydrate with electrolytes, you'll typically feel better than just drinking coffee. However, this is my plug for what I do like. If you're gonna drink coffee, I like the Rise coffee because it has probiotics and it has adaptogenic mushrooms. And now that we're talking about that, I'm actually going to make a cup of coffee. So let me get my thing going. Guys, I'm gonna make a cup of coffee and then I am going to make a cup of coffee and then you guys got me a little bit and then afterwards I am going to go study because I got to go study for a few hours. But the supplement right here, I've been kind of digging. I have tried lots of different coffee. What is this? I've tried lots of different coffee in my life, but the Rise coffee is pretty cool. I like it that I can just make a single serving. It's got adaptogenic mushrooms. It helps me focus. So I prefer that versus regular coffee. How about concrete? Are you talking about hey, Jumping Journey? You said turmeric. I'm assuming you mean turmeric, right? Turmeric's good. Yep. When you say concrete, are you referring to HCl concrete creatine? Like, what do you mean by concrete? Are you preferring like the HCl creatine? Because I usually just use creatine monohydrate. Creatine monohydrate is the most studied form of creatine, but concrete creatine, it's HCl, which creates better bioavailability. He's being a dean. Yeah, I don't really know what you're talking about, so I'm just gonna answer someone else. Okay, yeah, it's for sure. Daily, all I ask is you guys hit a thumbs up, and also this is my plug for myself, okay? If you are anything like me, and you wanted to get out of corporate America, which I used to be part of, I'm a licensed agent, I became a certified trainer and started helping my community and teaching people about health and wellness. And through that journey, I found a love to teach people about health and wellness and training for longevity. Now, through that experience, I work with a company out of Atlanta. I help people become certified trainers through NASM and ACE. So if you want to follow your health and wellness journey and learn how to create an entire business through health and wellness, then message me and we can talk and I can show you what it takes to see if you can get accepted into our program, and you will be guaranteed job placement within 30 days. We help you get an ACE or a NASM certification, which is naturally accredited. And by doing so, you'll be able to turn your passion of health and wellness into a lucrative career. We teach everything from the business side, and we have a PhD in sports nutrition. We have a master's in kinesiology. We have an entire team. We even have an option where you can come in class for 5 to 6 days, stay there in the facility, and get hands-on training to actually apply what we teach you. Ah, okay. That's fine. Well, thank you for the chats either way. So once this heats up, what I'm going to do is take my coffee cup and I'm going to make some of my Rise coffee, because the Rise coffee and the Rise creamer is quickly turning into my go-to. I really like it. Really cool. I'm sure you guys have seen the Rise commercials. I got the coffee right here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make me a cup of it. Where's my cup at? There it is. I make me a big cup of coffee. So what I do is I make a double, because this is good for focus and I'm about to have to go study and meet with some clients. So I put one of those, about 1 1/4, well, bam. And then I take the Rise Superfood. This is an adaptogenic blend, and when you look at the ingredients, it's got coconut milk powder, it's got a little bit of maltodextrin, a little bit of acai fiber, but it's pretty clean. It's got king trumpet, shiitake, turkey tail, lion's mane, reishi, cordyceps. It's a really good blend, and if you're anything like me, you do a lot of training, your body can sometimes stay a little bit inflamed because I train a lot. I can tell you it's a game changer. I like it better than regular coffee. And I'm not trying to sell you anything. I don't even have a link for it to make any money off of it. Just kind of sharing you things that I like. All right. Right through here. Oh, baby. Smells good too, man. Yeah, so I'm a big believer in the Rise product. And then if I wanted to, I could put some honey in that as a sweetener, but you know, after I just ate about 1.5 pounds of meat post-workout, so my big protein meal, that puts me at right now about 150 to 160 grams of protein for the day. I am turning my protein up to about 300 grams a day, spread between 3 to 4 meals. So I'm eating about 50 to 100 grams of protein per snack. And that kind of works pretty good because it keeps my waist real small. Jumping guy. Do you have a Rainbow Bright tattoo or one of My Little Pony? No, I do not have one of those. My Little Pony? Nah, man. I don't think I'd get a My Little Pony tattoo. Why? Did you want me to get a matching one for the one you have on your back? You'd strike me as someone that would have a little pony tattoo on your lower back, but that's just what you strike me as. Mushrooms are good for your immune system, which is key to your whole body. Yeah, Leon, I'm a big fan of that. Yeah, one of the things that I started doing with just my quest for longevity is, being close to 40 years old, right, and losing 100 pounds. What is this? Oh, there you go. Let's report you for sexually explicit content. Google now has your, if I keep reporting you guys and y'all have sexually explicit comments, I know you don't probably realize this, but I run a report every week for all you guys. I don't just ban you, I report you when y'all have those sick comments, and Google rewards me for doing so for YouTube. So essentially, when you do those comments, they're going to take your IP address and all the people around you. So thank you for exposing yourself so I can continue with those reports. Leon Phillips. Yeah, so the reason I started using the Rise and the Shroomology, which is right here, is because they have the cordyceps, the reishi, the lion's mane, the king trumpet. I am a huge, huge fan of these. Yeah, without a doubt. It just makes you feel good. It's so much better than normal coffee. Yeah. So much better. All right, guys. Well, I have enjoyed the time with you. Now, thank you for the 24 thumbs ups. Absolutely wonderful. And maybe I need to go study, but maybe we will be able to get together and I'll go live later on today. So thank you for all the people who came into the chat. Yeah, I mean, for me, the lion's mane and the cordyceps, without a doubt, have helped with my inflammation. I feel like it helps me digest my food a little bit better. And yeah, it's just, I don't think coffee by itself is nearly as powerful as the adaptogenic blend with the mushrooms. Yeah, so Leon Phillips, hope you stay good. Thank you for everybody who came in, and we'll see you next time. God bless.